Hey folks, Studio here. Let's go ahead and talk about support Morgana. Now, why support Morgana? Well, non-traditional supports, if you didn't watch the daily yesterday, are becoming more and more popular. So just to quickly summarize it, characters like Morgana, Jace, Fiddlesticks, and Zyra are becoming more and more common. And they have very strong benefits. Morgana has that really good root, and Black Shield. Zyra has a lot of AoE CC, two spells that provide it, and good control with her slow and good damage. Jace has decent damage, very good auto attack, can provide great move speed with his acceleration gate, and actually does good damage even as a support just because of the percentage damage from his big hammer smack in hammer form, the E. Fiddlesticks has that great CC with Fear, and then he still provides a good MR reduction with his passive, and his ultimate will still, hurt. It won't be a tickle, it'll be some decent pain coming down. So, non-traditional supports, they have these really good niche roles, and they're getting more common. Let's talk about Morgana, though. This is going to be a daily about Morgana. Let's go into her big pros, her big cons, talk about everything. Big pros. And this might be everything. This is how I judge it, though. So she has a very good CC in her Q. So not ultimate, just the 2 to 3 second root that has longer range than Blitzcrank Hook. It's one of the best initiators in the game, and the fact that it's a good root means it doesn't have to be damaging to initiate. You can start fights just by landing a root with no AP. Black Shield. It's amazing, preventing all CC, and especially when you're preventing all CC and you're going to be hanging around that 80 carry so often, it's a pretty good combo. Support Morgana also lets you put characters like Katarina in the mid lane, or anybody who would be subject to being CC'd. So Kassadin could benefit quite a bit from this. Cassiopeia, just because she doesn't have the longest range to use her ultimate. Anybody at risk of being CC'd can be Black Shielded, and it actually has a very good base shielding amount, so it's going to be effective. Well, actually, her ultimate, it's not going to be quite as useful with normal Morgana because you get Azonia's much, much later, but you still have this awesome AoE CC in the bot lane if they can't burst you down, which can be hard to do if you Black Shield yourself. You're going to get that stun off. They can't cleanse it, unlike every other CC in bot lane, so cleanse becomes much weaker, and you have an awesome CC. Now, there are the little pros. She has very good base attack damage, but not the best attack range, and a very slow attack animation, which is not the best for last hitting, but for harassing it lets you step out of the bush, auto attack, step back in. Now she doesn't have good range, and of course people can put wards down, so it's not the greatest thing. Tormented Soil can be useful somewhat. The MR reduction is really good on it, but if you don't have a lane that can benefit from it, like Draven for example, it's essentially crappy extra damage. Like, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to use it for CS, you're not going to use it that much. Varus can benefit a lot from it, for example, but Draven, who cares? Cons. I think the biggest cons are going to be the fact that what if they have a lot of physical damage in that bot lane? What if it's a J support lane? J support will wreck you. What if they have ways to go ahead and get around your Black Shield? Like, they have a lot of magic damage. Corki would be good for this. You put Black Shield on somebody, they have a Taric. Corki uses Phosphorus Bomb to go through that Black Shield. Taric can now still stun. And if they have lots of physical damage in the lane, like I said, in general, Black Shield doesn't protect against the damage, which can always be threatening. These are very small cons, though. These are just almost like inherent counters to the spells, not big things. Really, there is no major con. It's still a developed support, so we'll see it more and more and see how it reacts. But now that we've talked about this, let's go into a game. So, something important is always composition. Now, why is Morgana with Jace good composition? Let me make sure I tabbed in. The other day I spent like 5 recording attempts, and 3 of them I didn't tab in properly, so I am excited to be tabbed in. But compositions. Why do Draven and Morgana work? Draven is a frontline ranged AD. So he only has 550 range, so he actually has one of the lower, higher ranges. I thought it was 500 at some point. My mistake with that. But he's got 550 range. He doesn't have an escape. He doesn't have a way to get out of fights besides Blood Rush. Like, he's not the best disengager. He has a decent CC with Stand Aside. He has decent ways to get out of bad situations, but he's not like Corki. He's not like Ezreal. He's not going to get out of a bad fight. If you're playing Draven, it's kind of like playing Sivir, where you have to have some protection for him, but his damage is insane. Paradoxical right there. I mean, took 100 damage from one auto attack, a little more actually. So he can put out the hurt, He just needs to be protected to do it. Someone like Malphite, for example, ruins Draven. Malphite is actually, I think, one of the best Draven counters in the game because this isn't an auto attack reset. You catch that X, your auto attack isn't immediately back in. So the attack speed debuff completely ruins a lot of his damage. Now, with Black Shield, attack speed debuffs still go through it. Those are not crowd control effects. You will still be CC'd in terms of attack speed slows. But everything else about being a frontline fighter, like getting in range of a lot of CC, Taric Stun, for example, you're going to be in range for it. He's now safe. He can survive it. Yay! And of course, I mentioned this before, Katarina. Oh look, it's Mandatory Cloud. Oh look, he's Katarina, he wants to channel Death Lotus, now he can. So, a lot of the Black Shield benefits are very obvious, just because they have characters who benefit from not being CC'd. Xmithia, for example, can now start a fight by Shurelia's and won't be CC'd if he has Black Shield on, and there's lots of ways they can use Black Shield on this team. The obvious ones, the less obvious ones. It's just a great spell for them to have. The binding is something important to talk about. So they used it right here. Check that brush, make sure nobody was hiding there. It's also going to be very effective with Draven in this lane. Draven needs someone to keep people in place. He does enough damage where he can get into a big auto attack fight and completely just beat someone up. Even with the attack speed debuff coming in from Ezreal early on, it's not going to be enough. So if someone like Don't Mash Me gets caught by a binding, it's going to hurt. Now let's talk about the cons. There are a few more cons I did not mention. There's no sustain on Morgana, and you have to land your skill shots. So there are clearly problems. If you're in the creep wave, it's going to be hard to land that binding, so you can see Muffin Cutie's not even trying. Like, he's kind of moving around in position, but there's no super big effort coming in. You'd have to, like, field goal through here. He's just looking for some sort of opening. Also, you can see, right there, Pixel did about the same damage Aphromoo did to him with the binding hitting him. This is Sona's great thing. She does a lot of just high damage. Muffin Cutie was not level 2 yet though, so he can Black Shield that and reduce the damage Pixel does. Next time Pixel harasses, if Muffin Cutie lands a Black Shield, it's going to just be the auto attack more or less. Now, they're looking for some opening. Muffin Cutie is just shooting out bindings. It's actually not really affecting his mana. He has very good mana regen, but he's looking just for that one opening. As you can see, Black Shield got used onto Aphromoo, did a decent chunk of damage reduction, binding lands, watch the harass, just one auto attack back off. Aphromoo, he's looking for openings, he's looking just for times where he can hit for free. Don't Mash Me, he took a lot of damage in that. He's down to 347 HP. One binding can set up about 200 to 300 damage very quickly on Don't Mash Me, and that is what they're hoping for. So the binding lands, Don't Mash Me takes one auto attack, takes two auto attacks, down to 220 HP, and he still has a dot ticking onto him. So there is this clear pattern here, and this does not work with just Draven. This can work with a lot of characters. This can work with Varus, for example. Varus is another obvious character just because you get the 3 Blight stacks, he gets to use his E or his Q, lots of damage comes out. Now, Nintendo Dex is here, but there's a big problem. Black Shield has to be blown. It does have a 23-second cooldown. Muffin Cutie doesn't run with any cooldown reduction, so it's going to take forever for it to come back up, but if it's up, when Nintendo goes for that engage, Aphromoo is going to be completely safe. There is nothing they'll do to catch him. He'll just walk out of the rupture. He might take a decent amount of damage from Pixel, but he can't really break that shield until he gets a high level of Hymn of Valor. Realize too, Black Shield, it's absorbing 100 damage, 98 exactly. So it's hard to bust that shield. It's really hard to deal with as most characters. Ezreal will need a W, Sun will need to get Hymn of Valor, possibly a power cord off just to bust through that. So, Nintendo Dex can't get the gank off. This doesn't mean that Skarner can't gank here though. One good binding, if he's in the right bush, it's going to be a good setup. We're going to see some funny things happen that actually don't really depend on Morgana whatsoever, but it's enjoyable. So this is a point that's very scary for Pixel and Don't Mash Me. Because what can happen, one binding gets landed onto Pixel, actually specifically Pixel, he's going to be stuck here, he can't really escape. They'll need to exhaust, it may not be enough. So I like this engage, it comes from Xmithie. Muffin Cutie flashes forward just to get the exhaust stop, just to get the slow. The ignite isn't used, but the cleanse is. Don't Mash Me flashes away to dodge Skarner and dodge the binding, but Xmithie is able to keep up, applies the red buff, applies the Skarner slow, and then with a flash from Aphromoo, which I want to highlight really quickly, they're able to pick up the kill. I just want to highlight that flash from Aphromoo because he covers a lot of ground with it. So he actually flashes over this little chunk of space right here. Like, it's not very obvious, but he saved time rounding this corner, and that lets them pick up the kill. It's important to remember that Flash, it's about covering distance, or reducing the distance you have to cover. So he can flash over here, he'll cut a lot more distance than if he just walked over here and flashed, just because he doesn't have to round that corner. I expect he actually does get cut out here. This is a very good play coming in from Dynamic. They actually ambushed him from here. It's really cool. But, not the focus. Muffin Cutie tries to help out. If he'd been closer, he actually might have been able to save him with a good binding and Black Shield, but with all the flashes down, with the amount of resources they use to actually pick up that kill on Dynamic, they couldn't help. At this point, Muffin Cutie is just kind of waiting to go back with Afromoo. They need to buy. The CS is not that different between Afromoo and Don't Mash Me, just a 3 CS difference. And, okay, Afromoo has a kill, yes, but looking at the gold values, it's 2,000 to 1,600. They cannot fight Ezreal until Afromoo has bought. Because what does he have? Boots. What does Ezreal have? 2 Dorans. It does a crap load more damage with his auto attacks. Even with that passive, even with that spinning axe, you know, Ezreal will win a full-on fight. Muffin Cutie goes back to buy. Now, Muffin Cutie has a very specific set of rune pages and item builds. I believe he's going 16-14. I'll have to double check with that. I'll link that with the rune page in the bottom. But 16 points in defense, 14 points in utility. He runs no cooldown reduction. This threw me off. But the reason he does that is because he wants to be aggressive. He wants to be able to go into fights in lane. He wants to be able to take harass, and that's what the 16 points in defensive do. He can actually go ahead, take a beam to the face, possibly get the ult off, and it has a much larger chance of surviving. He's not going full into utility because he doesn't want the cooldown reduction on the summoners. He doesn't want the flash. He's not going to have Zonias, so he really can't initiate for a long, long time. He will pick up Zonias eventually, but it's a long time coming. And he's looking for stuff to help him survive laning, and to eventually, in the early game, use his ult and be super offensive with it. And because of that, utility is not going to help a lot. Flash would be nice. Exhaust would be on a short cooldown would be nice. Yes, but I like the thinking. I like the 16-14. This is a similar rune page that Sona uses, by the way. If you are ever playing Sona, go 16 points defense, 14 points utility. You need to be tanky to span all your awesome damaging skills. Now, Afromoo is finally coming back to lane. He has a straight-up BF sword, no HP items. Now, it's important to remember that shields all have different benefits. So, Janna's shield, when you use it, the AD carry gets an extra 50 damage at level 9, level 5, Eye of the Storm. When you use Karma Shield, it applies damage. When you use just most shields, there is some tangible benefit, even if it doesn't get broken, or even if it, like, the HP isn't used. Morgana doesn't have that. If they don't cast magic spells, and if they weren't deterred from casting magic spells because of the Black Shield, you don't get anything out of it. There is no extra AD coming in from Janna. There is no obvious benefit. And you have to watch out about that. You have to make sure when you use Black Shield, you're getting something out of it. If it's deterring the enemy from casting CC on the person you want to protect, if it's doing something, it should be relatively obvious and you can get a lot out of it. But if you cast Black Shield and nothing happens, that's a long cooldown. 21 seconds. You can only have a 25% uptime-ish on Black Shield at level 2. Skill build, by the way, he maxes out Dark Binding, then Black Shield. He doesn't need points in Tormented Soil. There is no magic damage from Afromoo. So really, he just needs to land bindings, and the awesome damage will happen. But back to Black Shield, make sure that A, your lane partner knows it won't be up, and B, that you know you cannot waste it. So, this is what Muffin Cutie wants to do. I just want to accentuate how much damage occurred in that little situation. Whoa, that was a very fast Ezreal. Okay. So Muffin Cutie just on his own is going to do quite a bit of damage. Binding is going to hit for about 200, which is a lot of poke. The auto attack he does is actually pretty decent, 73, and the ultimate does 350. Luckily, they don't even need the ultimate because Afromoo does a lot of his own burst. So, as you can see, support Morgana still brings a lot of pain. Obviously, she's not going to get a lot of penetration, she's not going to get a lot of awesome damage enhancement, but she still hurts. She still hurts quite a bit. It is a kill lane in the sense that once Morgana hits level 6, like every Morgana lane, if you get hit by a binding, you might die. So right here, if Muffin Cutie had his ultimate up, he could have just chased down Pixel, they probably could have picked up the kill had they had the resources. And that's going to be the case every time they have the ultimates up. What is Soul Shackle's cooldown? Level 1, 120. Soul Shackle has a really good cooldown for the spell that it is, and in this bottom lane, when Soda's ultimate, for example, has 131, it's a great spell. But you don't really need the ultimate. You can just use bindings. This is the damage that Aftermoon does on Draven, so when you focus on a support, you have to focus on the AD too. Sorry. Aftermoon on Draven, they know how to play him. They're very good with him. He maxes out Spinning Axe first, so every attack when he has a Spinning Axe will do an extra 100 damage. So 235 auto attack damage at this point in the game. That's terrifying. And of course he has the extra 58 Dawn. That's not that big. That's nice. That's very effective, but not the most important thing. So the reason this lane works well is because there's that synergy. Think of cool lanes. Think of lanes that work well. Okay, Taric Graves. Why does that work well? Well, Taric stuns, uses Shatter, Graves blows all his burst. They die because of the burst damage. Why does this lane work? Draven sees someone get bound by Morgana. He just follows up with his auto attacks. Morgana can slow them with her ultimate if needed, and it's just lots of easy auto attack damage coming in. Draven can keep picking up axes. It's a good setup for Draven. And that's the big thing. You just need to think about these cool synergies. That's why these lanes exist. That's why we see Jace support, why we see Fiddlestick support, because it's cool and it works. Muffin Kitty, by the way, just looking for for Sona. Ultimate was up in 5 seconds though. I'm just waiting on it, which was smart, but unfortunately they couldn't pick up the kill. Now, I just want to talk about other lanes really quickly. Just think of cool things, please. Please think of cool things, and then try it out. Preferably in a normal with friends. Don't be that guy who's like, you know what? I think Revive, Ignite, Brand support is going to be what we need. Don't be that guy. But do test it out, do experiment. You know, when you have two people to communicate in that one lane, it can be awesome. So Muffin Cutie, what's he looking for? Just an opening. There's his opening. There's a black shield. Aftermoon can't be CC'd, can't be ulted by Sona, and Sona dies. Alright. Yeah. Don't Mastery tries to get out of there. Aftermoon actually does a really cool flash to dodge any Mystic shots, but they pick up the kill onto him. The damage from Morgana now, it's a really good damaging binding. And as you can see, this is a kill lane. This is not an obvious kill lane, but it's a lane that once you kind of look at it, they can kill stuff really easily. This is kind of like one of those old Taric lanes. It's like one of those old Leona lanes. You know, there's just so much CS or CC and so much burst. Unless something disengages, which Black Shield prevents, they're gonna die. Now, who could have got out of that situation? Janna would have good move speed, but she was bound. That didn't really matter. She would have the Shield caster on herself. That would be kind of useful, maybe. Soraka might have been able to survive the burst damage, but wouldn't have had any escapes. And then afterwards, Ezreal would have died just because the heal's down. Taric might have survived that actually, because Taric is tanky as hell. Same with Leona, but they couldn't have been able to CC Aphromoo, which is the important target, and Muffin Cutie had enough tankiness to survive that burst, that huge chunk of damage. That's because he spec'd for it. And that's the thing. That's why these off-kilter supports are working, because there's not these obvious counters to them. And they'll come. They come in time. They always come in time. There will always be those discoveries of how to beat certain characters. But holy crap, it's just such a good synergy. I just want to say that. And let's go ahead and review the Muffin Cutie plan. Early on, try and get one to stray binding, let Aphromoo get some good harass off of it, wait for that jungle gank, and when it comes, support them just with the exhaust. If you land the binding, awesome. If not, exhaust is a great spell. Afterwards, once you hit 6, and Aphromoo hits 6 on Draven, you just look for bindings, and if you land a binding, you kill someone, because Sona can't CC Aphromoo with her ultimate, and Ezreal, if he does cleanse away, well, guess what? You have your own ultimate to go ahead, suppress him, keep him screwed. You might still get away, but you blow summoners. At this point, like, Don't Mastery and Pixel are terrified. Look at that damage. Now, why does this work? Why does Zion Spartan and Pixel pick up that kill? Black Shield was on cooldown. They knew this. 19-second cooldown. It was used earlier. That's why I brought this up before. What did that Black Shield accomplish? Why was Zyra there? So Black Shield hasn't been used yet. They just use it to go ahead and poke out. It absorbs a bit of damage, and not much came from it. And this is where you have to be extra cautious. This is where characters like Rumble come in, because you can catch people by surprise. This is great. Aphromoo gets CC, gets blown up, blown up, blown up. There you go. Rest in peace, Aphromoo. When Black Shield is down, you are a normal support. You have a good CC, you have a lot of good CC, but you don't have the awesome defense. And it's important to remember that. And this is one of the problems Muffin Cutie has with his Runes and Masteries. There's no CDR. That Black Shield stays at a very long cooldown. Normally that's not going to matter because you don't expect fights to happen very often, but this is a way you could deal with this style of play. Blow the Black Shield once it's on cooldown, to force a fight. In this case, they were far behind. They did need Zion Spartan to win that fight in the end. But there's a weakness. Once you discover those weaknesses, once they're adapted, that's where you can go ahead and start, bullying lanes, start finding them and trying to get the pressure in the right spot. So they'll blow Black Shield, but you won't die in response, and then afterwards you can kill them. Now that was a pretty big thing though, because Rumble had to go all the way up the top lane because Yorick is being super rude bot lane. Has a big CS advantage, and that is not a fun lane for Rumble. But back in top lane, Aphromoo, super scary. Muffin Cutie, what's his build? He's got boots, he's got Philistone, he's got Heart of Gold. At this point, he actually goes for a Zonius, so he's going to build a Chain Vest first, just to survive auto attack damage. No reason not to be extra tanky, extra cautious. And the big thing is, alright, if I can get the ult off, the CC will be enough so my team can clean up. In a team fight, Mandatory Cloud or Aphromoo will get the Black Shield. And if they can get their spells off, holy crap, we'll win that fight easily. If they focus Muffin Cutie, that's a lot of time spent not attacking somebody else. At this point, actually, don't mash me in Pixel. They're terrified. Without Sona Ultimate, still at that very long cooldown, compared to Soul Shackles, which will be up in less time, they're just having trouble dealing with it. Cleanse is down on Don't Mash Me, Flash is down, one binding, and rip in peace. And actually, you can tell Nintendo is actually looking for the pressure, trying to find an opening. It comes actually a second too early, and that ward was still in that bush. They might have been able to go for a pretty good gank. But they now know what to do on Dynamic. They know they need to blow the spell shield. They know once that spell shield has been used, they're in a great spot to go for kills. Nintendo was spotted though. And what can he do? Well, not a whole lot. He walks in the bush, yeah, he's kind of scary, yeah. It doesn't really matter. They know that he's there. They know they just save spell shield for either Sona or Cho'Gath, and they're totally A-okay. They just can't hug each other and get hit by a Rupture. So, Nintendo finally leaves. The lane is being slightly pressured. But Muffin Cutie and Aphromoo are actually confident enough to fight them, even though Cho could be in the bushes. And that is just how ahead they are. That is one of the strengths of these lanes. You snowball so hard. So hard. Sorry if I left the gold on too long, by the way. But they get the ward in the bush, they know Cho's not there. Now they just go crazy. Just Don't Mash Me, taking 3 auto attacks, taken to half HP. They all had Spinning Axe applied, yes. But, not much they can do. Pixel, by the way, he's actually trying to harass Aphromoo with Aria of Perseverance, his power cord up. This is because Black Shield doesn't reduce damage reductions like that, so the CC is only CC. Attack speed debuffs, damage reductions, pretty much anything, I think, blinds too. Anything that's not like a slow or a stun or a fear, like something where you lose control of your character, isn't counted as CC. Muffin Cutie, they're still looking for that opening. Obviously, Dynamic has learned by now, but they still lose a lot in being defensive. They lose a lot of... Well, actually, they're equal on CS, but they haven't had a good chance to catch back up on CS. And they're not really able to pressure hard enough where they can get Aphromoo to miss CS. They're losing the Gold War. The teams are actually fairly equal, but when Aphromoo, that very scary AD, has 5,700 and Ezreal's a full 1,000 behind, that's not fun. That's anti-fun. That's toxic. Toxic to your team winning. So let's go back to Aphromoo. Just zoom on up. Look at that shaky Draven tail heading up to top lane. So he has Bloodthirster, he has Zeal, he can build with less HP, he can build more offensive because of Black Shield. Black Shield now at level 4, the second maxed out skill, and it's a doozy. Because you know what? How much damage does it absorb? 300. That's a lot of damage to absorb. Why is that so good? It means that most spells can't really break through on their own. Okay, Zyra, she'd have to land a Deadly Bloom first. Actually, with a Magic Resist, this would not break the spell shield. They'd have to land Grasping Roots afterwards. So, for Zyra to actually CC Aphromoo, they have to land 2 spells. And one of them is a CC spell, and if the CC spell, like if a Grasping Roots hits Aphromoo when he has Black Shield, but it breaks it, it doesn't CC still. It's something important to remember it. Whatever spell breaks Morgana's Black Shield doesn't CC, which is annoying when you're like Annie, because all your spells can break or can CC. They take top turret and they roam, and Draven's still not the person you want to have late game, even when he does have that extra Morgana protection. So they roam mid. Actually, Aphromoo takes a lot of damage from those plants, but it's magic damage. Those do break the spell shield. At this point, they're looking for just an opening. They go for a dragon fight, and just imagine how strong this team comp is at this point. So you have a great early game CC coming in from Morgana, great early game damage from Aphromoo, Skarner, great early game CC, and the person who normally would be kind of weak in this situation, Katarina, because you can interrupt her ultimate, and she's fairly squishy, guess what? Black Shield absorbs a spell, it's going to be hard to interrupt her. Cho'Gath can't do it on his own. Zyra's going to... Well, the knockup is a 2-second delay, so that's quite a bit of time, and I'm Sona. Sona's not doing it on her own, I'm sorry. That power chord hurts, and Hymn of Valor hurts, but not that much. Close, though, actually. Actually, no, that will break it. Power chord and Hymn of Valor, never mind. Forgot Sona hurts that much, but magic resist is factored into the spell shield, and Mandatory Cloud has a lot, so no, it won't. Ha, I'm right. Now, as you can see, Draven on his own, you know, has to run away from scary people like Rumble. Muffin Cutie needs to go ahead, hold Aphromoo, make him feel comfortable, make him able to actually take damage. But the entire point of this team is that there's going to be someone like Katarina, someone like Draven, and you match him up with Morgana, and Morgana will just make them awesome. And that is kind of the role of support in general. You make situations awesome. You're not going to be some scary, you know, kill everybody on your own type of character. Even support Fiddlesticks doesn't do it. But you set up awesome situations for everybody else. In the case of Sona, you have an awesome ult. Everybody gets CC'd. You can follow up with that very well. In the case of Leona, kind of the same thing. You CC one person, you burst them very well. Awesome situations. And the awesome situation Morgana has is she's a little bit of everything. So she does good damage. Not great damage, good damage. Going to be relatively comparable to Sona, actually, depending on how much AoE hits. She will do good CC. The binding is 3 seconds, better than actually any other support has when it comes to just one spell. It's a lot of CC, and she still has the AoE very long duration stun. So Mandatory Cloud takes the Black Shield, just uses ult, you know, doesn't get hit by any sort of CC. They can't break it in time, and they're able to massacre Paradoxical. And that is what they're going for. They could have used it on next Mythia actually if they expected Paradoxical to be able to get the CC off, but they did use a flash to get that catch off. Normally, you could just go ahead and say, well, if we're confident enough, put a Black Shield on next Smithy, don't blow a flash, but it's a good clean catch. It was effective. Now, as you can see, Muffin Cutie doesn't have any points of Tormented Soil. He cannot hold a turret. He's still a normal support in that regard. Very few supports can hold turrets for a long amount of time, and that's not going to change here. That's a great field goal, by the way. Right between the creeps. Now, they actually made a change to Morgana's Dark Binding quite a while ago. What it did was, the Dark Binding is smaller. Now, the obvious benefit is that it can go through creeps. It's a bit harder to land, though. But if you can just angle yourself in creeps, you can get cool bindings like that off. Yeah, he doesn't do anything there. He puts a Black Shield on a Mandatory Cloud, didn't really matter. At this point, actually, Dynamic kind of fell apart. This was a tournament game, and Dynamic kind of fell apart here. They actually go for a very desperate play. We'll see the response to that and how they deal with it on Ferus, but I hope you get the gist of Morgana. When it comes to team fights, she's not going to be using her ult super offensively, just because you can't. You're not tanky enough. She does have a chain vest, she does have Sork shoes, so she's going to be kind of fast, kinda, with a very big kinda, tanky to physical damage, but it's not the same. You're not zone used up. She can use Flash later to initiate, but the damage isn't quite so scary, so it's all going to be about the CC. If they do spread out enough, Mandatory Cloud and Katarina loses a lot of effectiveness. At this point, though, they're looking for that opening. It's like, alright, Aphromo's here. Muffin Cutie actually tanks the turret for a sec. But they're just trying to find some decent way to initiate and take this turret out. Dynamic, they're grouped up. They don't have 2 people here, though, so they're worried. But Aphromo actually does something very silly. While Dark Shield's on cooldown, he tries to go ahead and tank the turret and, you know, take it down. Only 36 HP, but they blow a lot of crap and do a lot of damage and super kill him. Rest in peace. So, Aphromoo gives up that kill. Dynamic as a response, and I think I know why they do this. They felt they were farther behind than they actually were. They're still a decent amount of gold behind, yes, but they go for a Desperation Baron. And I love this engage. This is something to remember. When a team like Dynamics blows enough ults, so in this case, Stranglethorns is down on Zyra, and the ultimate from Ezreal is also down because he used it to farm, it's very possible to engage on them. They don't have a lot of AoE CC outside of the Rumble ultimate and Sona ultimate, but you still have a Black Shield on Morgana. So, Xmithy, Muffin Cutie, they're waiting for Mandatory Cloud to show up. What is their plan? How do they deal with this fight? Well, Muffin Cutie Black Shield Mantra Cloud immediately, which just lets this easy kill happen. Mantra Cloud is able to just, expand his spells. Finally it breaks the Black Shield, yes, but the ultimate's used from Sona, there's no CC left to hit him. And they're just able to actually get the Baron with a good smite and just clean up here. Now that was a 5v4 in the end. Don't Mash Me did leave the pit, but why did that work out? Well, they just had good protection from Manta Ray Cloud. With Zyra being down, they couldn't burst the shield, or with Zyra's ult being down, they couldn't burst the shield, and they didn't have enough CC to contain her. And that's important to remember. Just because your team has one person down, if they've blown an important spell like a Mumu ult, Galio ult, sometimes they can't initiate, sometimes they can't hold with that. Also, in that case, we're taking Baron damage, taking a lot of extra damage. The debuff from Baron does increase the magic damage you take. It was a pretty rough situation overall for Dynamic. It's a desperation Baron. They thought they were a lot farther behind than they actually were and thought they had to make that big play. It really wasn't the case, but, well, it's unfortunate when it happens. They don't have this awesome little handy-dandy display. But Muffin Cutie, what's he got now? Almost has Zhonya's, very close. I think he needs about 500 more gold. Looking at him, nope, he needs about 750 more gold. And you'll notice that warding hasn't been the biggest issue. He's just been keeping good ward placement down. He's not necessarily carpet bombing the map, something Yutwin would do. Yutwin loves his wards, and he's very good at keeping super good ward coverage. But Muffin Cutie keeps up good ward coverage. He's still going for items. He can't sacrifice everything for wards. Now, obviously, if you're far behind as a support, you barely got your 2 GP10 items, and you're struggling just to get anything, okay, you're probably going to have to focus on wards. Probably not going to go for Zhonya's for a long, long time. But he's doing relatively well. Muffin Cutie's got a decent amount of gold coming in. His team's doing really well. He can go ahead, sacrifice the wards, make sure they just go down in good positions, and his team will be fine. This is important to remember as a support. You still need items. You still need to get something. You can't just be 2 GP5s, no boots, no nothing at the 40-minute mark. You gotta have something. And Muffin Cutie, he works towards something. He does not get loads and loads of wards, but he gets enough. So this fight starts. Muffin Cutie, what does he do? Land a really good route onto Pixel so he can't get in position to ult. Xmithy has the Black Shield just to go ahead and get the impale off, which he does. Muffin Cutie comes in late, and this is very important. He comes in late just for the ultimate. Doesn't actually land on anybody, but the slow disperses people. The reason he came in late and why that was so important, he can't start fights. He doesn't have Zhonya's. He doesn't have his good enough way to actually keep people in place and not die. I believe Manta Ray Cloud did actually die in the exchange, but got yorked. So, in the end, all was well. And that was just good cleanup. The game ends now. There's really nothing Dynamic can do. Zion Spartan, can you defend? No. Sorry. It was a very good game, and Ferus, they're looking really strong. This is a very innovative strat. I like it, and I hope to keep it up. Now, can you do Morgana support? Yes. But think of the situations. Think of what you're doing with it. I actually don't really know of that many bad lanes. Maybe Jace, like I said before. But there were clearly some flaws. This has to be developed more. This has to be studied more. This is the first time I've seen that in a long time used in tournaments. It popped up every now and then, but Morgana support is not the norm. And ask yourself, why can this work? Why can this not work? Will I be good with it? Am I good with Morgana? Can I get good with Morgana? Worlds. World will see lots of crazy, wacky supports, crazy, wacky 80s, crazy everything. World will have awesome matches between the world's best teams doing crazy shenanigans that are just absolutely insane. They'll be starting at round 1. Every game will matter in Worlds because group stages, the way it works is if you're not top 2 in your group, you're gone. You're screwed. Get out of here. Get out of here, nerds. So look for the crazy shenanigans and then don't copy them. Don't just be like, yo, that guy did some weird support. That guy did support Veigar. I'm going to copy it now. Think about it. Think about it. Talk with your friends. See how you can make it work. Apply it. Do it. But make sure you've thought it out. Make sure you know why it works. Make sure you know why you think it works at least. And then just go do it. Go crazy. Go awesome. Go do fun things. And it'll be cool. It'll be very cool. Well, studio. Saying adios, folks. I hope you guys actually take a long look at Worlds. It's coming up in a week and a half. It's going to be so cool. The best LOL we've ever seen before. But yeah, that's all for now. Adios, guys. Folks.